for some reason they're kind of pushing financial aspects of being a pharmacist a lot. I guess it's good in a way. Hold on. It's good in a way, but it's a bit complicated. So we're just going to kind of go through questions again, guys. So as I said, this section is all about law. It's a little bit to do with the tariff as well. It'll go over things like responsible pharmacists, responsible pharmacist regulations. So this is the first question. So I've tried to mix up the kind of type of question as well to make it a little bit more confusing for you guys. So for this bit, where are we? So the question is, the Responsible Pharmacist Regulations 2008, which came into force October 2009, replaced the following provisions in the Medicines Act 1968. Personal control, supervision, or superintendent pharmacist. It's D.
Is it D?
Yeah. So personal control was like the old word for, you know, it's the pharmacist has personal control. The reason why they put in the responsible pharmacist regulations was just to kind of clarify it a little bit better, in that who is actually in control of that pharmacy, i.e. legally. So we had a scenario the other week in my pharmacy. I kind of pop in and there's usually a pharmacist there, but then the pharmacist, I don't know, goes to the toilet or goes for lunch, and I tend to, you know, if there's a script that comes in for, say, trimethoprim, which is quite easy, I tend to just pick it up, just do it and give it out. But the thing is the pharmacist hasn't signed out. So they're actually liable if I make an error. So there used to be this thing called personal control, but it wasn't well defined. Supervision is still around. And superintendent pharmacists will always be around. How does the superintendent pharmacist relate to the pharmacist? There's something called clinical governance. So my pharmacist working in the shop, he kind of, you know, he does the everyday FP10s and he does this and that, but the clinical framework that he works to is provided by someone called the superintendent. And the superintendent is, just there to write all the SOPs and just make sure that it's a safe environment as well, and that, you know, the place is properly insured. Okay, so we're going to go to the next question. It's complicated again. The supply of which of the following would be unlawful? Select the best answer. So so you're looking for, out of these, you know, 4 of them are going to be lawful, 1 of them is going to be not lawful. A prescription for 6 weeks supply of a Schedule 2 controlled drug issued 3 weeks previously and not forward dated. A prescription for 28 days supply of a Schedule 3 controlled drug issued 6 weeks previously and not forward dated. A prescription for 28 days supply of a Schedule 2 controlled drug issued 3 weeks previously with the total quantity written only in figures, so not words and figures. A repeat supply made 6 weeks after the original dispensing of a Schedule 4 controlled drug, for which repeats are not allowed on a private prescription, requesting 1 repeat but with no specifications. God, this is complicated. Either of the date of or length of time after the initial supply as to when the repeat is to be made. And then last option, a repeat supply made 1 year after the original dispensing of a Schedule 5 controlled drug on a private prescription, requesting 1 repeat but with no specification, either of the date or length of time after the initial supply as to when the repeat is made. Woo! Imagine getting this in the exact. That took me like a minute, 2 minutes to read. I didn't even think about what I was reading. But is there something in there, guys, where you just go, yeah, I know the answer? So B is the only illegal one. A prescription for 28 days supply of Schedule 3 controlled drug issued 6 weeks previously. So only B is prohibited by the misuse of drugs regulation. So that is the only legal one. Prescribers have been advised by the DOH not to prescribe more than 30 days supply of a controlled drug in Schedule 2, 3 or 4. So option A is incorrect because it's 6 weeks supply, yeah? So that should really jump out at you. Why wouldn't you give more than 28 days supply from a clinical perspective of a controlled drug? So what is a controlled drug inherently? It's either something that's going to be addictive or something that's going to kill you. Yeah? So you've got the abuse part, but the kill part. Imagine if you gave, 6 months of morphine, to a lady who's got cancer and then she's got a kid. If the kid picks up all of those drugs, there's a higher, possibility that that patient's, going to die from it. So let's go to the next question. For the question below, one of these, responses is correct. For which of the following could you lawfully make an emergency supply of a prescription-only medicine at the request of a patient? So first statement. A person who has previously been prescribed the medicine by a doctor in France. Ooh. A person who has previously been prescribed the medicine by a dentist in Germany. A person who has previously been prescribed the medicine by a dentist in the UK. So these countries, France, Germany and the UK, what do they all have in common? Exactly, okay. So they're in the EU. Then the second bit of the question, they're trying to confuse you about doctors, dentists, does that really matter? No, because it's been prescribed, doesn't it? So it doesn't really matter, the classification. So the answer is A. Okay, guys? This is very, very important. And you may actually get this in pharmacy practice, like when you become a pharmacist, you may get, this scenario coming in. Can you accept a prescription from a doctor in, let's say, Spain? So a Spanish doctor writes a prescription. Can you accept it?
Yeah.
Very good. That's really good to know, guys. Really good to know. So the doctor, dentist, so answer A, so all of them are correct. So doctor or dentist, doesn't matter what the classification of the prescriber is. Then the countries, France, Germany, UK, it's in the EU, so there's a directive which states it's okay. Okay, next one. And this one's about money. So for private prescriptions, a community pharmacy charges 25% on the net cost of the item plus a £2 dispensing fee. If the net cost of an item is £6, which of the prices below should be charged for a private prescription for a 66-year-old man? So you've got £6 is the net cost of the medicine.
Yeah.
So they charge 25%. So what's 25% of £6? Yeah, 1.5. So it's a quarter. So you're up to £7.50. Yeah. Then you've got to add on the £2. So you're up to £9.50. What do you guys know about VAT? No. Used to be. Before the lovely Tories got into power with Cameron, it was 17.5, but it's now 20%.
Right, okay.
Okay. So you guys probably don't know this, but you on private prescriptions, you don't need to add VAT. Prescriptions are exempt from VAT. So you're right. Private prescriptions and FP10s, but you don't pay for FP10s unless it's NHS, and that's exempt anyway. So you're right. The answer is B. As you kind of learn more about pharmacy, do you guys know what a PGD is? There's lots of services you can run under PGDs. Let's take, for example, an erectile dysfunction service, whereby a patient's coming in and they want Viagra. You can, if you're suitably trained, you can use a private PGD to then give that medicine to the patient if they're included. However, there is no prescription being generated. So if there's no prescription being generated, do you charge VAT? You do, yeah. So you've got to keep that in mind. All private prescriptions are VAT exempt. However, PGD transactions, because there is no written direction from a doctor, there is tax on it. A locum pharmacist has been reported to the GPhC for being pissed on duty. No other misconduct has been reported. That brings you back. I worked as a locum once, and I turned up, and there were empty beer cans in the sink. There was like about 8 of them, and the counter assistant was like, "Yeah, our pharmacist has a little bit of a problem."
Oh my god.
Yeah, so this stuff does happen, guys. In practice as well. Say you're a locum, yeah, and let's say you turn up to a place like that, and the guy who's drinking or the guy who's doing something wrong is, let's say, the superintendent. What are you thinking professionally? But you've kind of got to be delicate, you know, because if you're a locum and you go in there and you start, you know, shouting around and making false accusations, you can get into trouble. So what the best thing to do, to be honest, and this is like, you know, a life skill, is just document everything. So you just get out your laptop or go onto Google, whatever, and then just type in, you know, I worked at this pharmacy on this date, and then I found that these, you know, there were beer cans everywhere, or patients were, you know, confused or whatever. If you're only there for a day, you know, you've got to kind of think, are you going to report that directly? It depends on the situation, but yeah, the best way is you should report it to the GPhC, but just, you know, keep it in mind and document everything. So GPhC for being drunk on duty, no other misconduct has been reported. The GPhC would normally, 1, suspend him from practice immediately, 2, refer his case to the disciplinary committee, and 3, remove his name from the register of pharmacists if the allegations of drunkenness was proven. The answer is D, guys, so only 1 is correct. Do you know why that is? Because he's a danger to the public in that circumstance. So if he's proven to be drunk and he's working, the GPhC would like take that really severely, and they would suspend him from practice immediately. Because if see the second one, refer his case to the disciplinary committee, that means it would go under investigation and take, you know, 3-4 months. And that means that the pharmacist that in those 3-4 months is still getting pissed and still working. So that's a danger to the public. 3, remove his name from the register of pharmacists if the allegation of drunkenness was proven. Well, that's a bit harsh. It would need to go under investigation. And also,
You have to think of the public always.
Yeah, it's all about the public. The drunkenness was proven. Yeah, so don't drink in work, guys. It's not good for you. Okay, so which one of the following would not be entitled to a free NHS prescription? Because the diabetes is being treated by diet alone, it isn't. Yeah, it isn't full-blown diabetes. It's not like categorized as type 1 or type 2. And because the man is below the age of 60, there's no free prescriptions. However, the woman, which is option E, she's got the same diabetes condition, but because she's over 60, she gets it free of charge. So this one is an MEP question. We went over this last week. Which of the following must be kept in safe custody? Buprenorphine 5 mg transdermal, temazepam oral, phenobarbital 60 mg. What's phenobarbital used for, guys? Just keep in mind it's like an old drug. It was like one of the first type of epileptic medications available. They're called barbiturates. There's a really big problem with them in that if you overdose, it can kill you pretty easily. Very rarely given for epilepsy because you've got kind of, you know, the newer types of, you know, sodium valproate and etc. So which have a better safety profile. So buprenorphine is an opiate, but it's a special opiate. It's an antagonist. So the molecule itself goes into the receptor and agonizes it, but also blocks any other opiate from getting to that receptor. So buprenorphine, you've probably given it out as Subutex for kind of heroin addicts. It's a very useful drug because if you know, if you think as a prescriber or someone, you know, helping out someone get over a heroin addiction, you can give more methadone, which is an agonist, which will fill the receptor, but also allow, you know, them to use heroin on top. However, if you use buprenorphine as Subutex, it will block that receptor. So it means that if they take the buprenorphine and then go away and use heroin, the heroin won't work. They won't get high off it. All of Schedule 3, buprenorphine is subject to prescription requirements and safe custody. Temazepam is subject to safe custody only. Phenobarbital is subject to prescription requirements only. Responsible pharmacist, boring stuff again. Require the responsible pharmacist to display in their pharmacy his or her registration certificate. Sounds reasonable. Permit the responsible pharmacist to be absent from the pharmacy for up to 2 hours per day for professional duties only. It's a bit dubious. Require the responsible pharmacist to maintain and review pharmacy procedures, SOPs, related to professional aspects of the running of the pharmacy. So it's going for E. So only E3 is correct. So the reason why this only 3 is correct is, one, it's not the registration certificate, guys. It's not your, it's your, you need a responsible pharmacist sign. You don't need your registration certificate. And then the second one, it's knocking it for professional duties only. You can go do whatever you want in those 2 hours. So only 3 is correct at the end. Yeah, no restrictions on the reasons for absence.
Oh, right.
With
Okay,
2.
yeah.
Yeah. That's why I said it was a bit dubious when for professional duty. You can go do whatever you want. You can go get lunch or... That's an interesting question. These are quite hard, guys, so don't worry too much if you're getting them wrong. The responsible pharmacist regulations notwithstanding, a pharmacist should be present in a pharmacy providing NHS pharmaceutical services at all times that the pharmacy is open. Statement 2, this is required by NHS terms of service for contractors. Ooh. Decide whether the first statement is true or false. So it's A. If both statements are true and the second statement is a correct explanation. The Department of Health has confirmed that the current terms of service were formulated on the basis that a pharmacist would be present at all times that the pharmacy is open for the provision of pharmaceutical services. No change has yet been made to this requirement. In practical terms, this means that for the time being at least, if a responsible pharmacist wants to leave the premises under the terms of the responsible pharmacist regulations, another pharmacist must remain on the premises. The Department of Health, together with the contractor representative organisations, is currently reviewing the community pharmacy contractual framework and NHS. Ooh, it's a tricky little caveat. So I think the key thing there is NHS pharmaceutical services. Yeah? That phrase, guys. So if you're a pharmacy and you're open and you want to provide pharmaceutical services, which is, you know, dealing with prescription-only medicines, handing out FP10s, you know, if I went to lunch and then my assistant is still there, I'm still signed in as a responsible pharmacist. Can my assistant give out a dispensed FP10?
No.
No. No. they are under, they that would be part of the pharmaceutical services, and they can't fulfill that without a pharmacist being on the premises.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys, these are really hard. A woman has asked to buy Levenel. What is Levenel, guys?
Hormonal contraception.
Yeah, so morning after pill. How long after UPSI can you take Levenel?
Up to 72 hours.
Very good. Because a condom split during intercourse last night, she also wants to buy a second pack in case, as it says it might happen again. Okay? You should not supply a second pack, although the licensing conditions do not prohibit supply. Is advance of need. GPhC advises against it. This is very, very specific, guys. Should you know this? Probably you should know it. It's quite tricky. The original Royal Society guidance advised against supply in advance was rescinded, so it was taken away in 2006 because they didn't want pharmacists just giving it out willy-nilly. Pharmacists are now recommended to use their professional judgment to assess the clinical appropriateness of the supply. Okay? So both of those statements is incorrect. So that's the law. Those questions were from the chemist and druggist, and they're very, 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 very tricky. I think those, one of those questions could come up in the exam. The rest of them would be a bit easier. But, the best thing to know really off by heart are those schedules. Where are certain drugs being kept? Visit pharmacycpa.com for the full video series. As always, for more information, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, join our free PCPA course, join our Facebook group, or subscribe to our blog.